Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another video about fireproofing dwellings for wildfires. I can't say it enough. The main focus of this channel is to save lives. So recently I've been receiving some emails about the need for fireproofing dwellings, saying we don't need to fireproof dwellings, we need to protect the forest. Well, that's true, but the second statement is also true. And we're going to talk a little bit about why there is now a need, an actual need of actually having your dwellings being fireproof for wildfires. So, full disclosure statement, again, I always repeat this, our research team has no financial interest in the materials of the companies here presented. This research project is not supported by the private construction industry, and this is a non-supported presentation, and all guidelines are technically free for everyone, okay? So we're not selling anything. So, again, we already talked about this in previous videos. This is an unsolved problem of the 21st century. We indeed have evolved into rocket science, biology, and computer science, but people continue to die due to wildfires. And recently we start to observe that not all dwellings actually burn. This is something we already knew a couple of years ago now, but now it's being, or should I say, more detailed and better studied, okay? So why some dwellings burn and others don't? We already talked about this in the previous video. I'll leave a link below for you guys to click it in the description box if you want about this problem. And we'll give you some ideas of our initial research in this area. So the problem. So the dwellings that burn were literally rebuilt the same way. So they will most likely burn in the next wildfire because they still aren't fireproof. If you start building, or rebuilding in a better sense, your burned dwelling using the exact same structure with the exact same materials that you had before, your dwelling will burn again. Okay? So you may have money to rebuild it, but if you don't rebuild it correctly, it will burn again. I cannot say this enough. And this is what we're trying to solve in this research project. If you want to know more about our research project, go to our webpage. We have a lot of publications, outcomes. We have the idea that we want to do with this research project, and we're always looking for collaborations in this area. So again, why the need to fireproof our dwellings against wildfire? Let's see. So, one thing that is true is wildfires have existed before, either by man-made or natural or by nature, whatever you want to call it. But are they increasing? Well, wildfires, no, but great wildfires, these have increased severely in the last years. What I mean great is wildfires with big potential, okay, with a lot of burn area and sometimes even worse, with casualties. So wildfires have existed before. They continue to exist almost at the same rate as before, but great wildfires have increased. And this is the problem. So what are the consequences? Well, the easy answer is climate change. Everyone knows this is a fact, but this statement needs extra explanation, okay, because I can only say it's climate change. So let's check it out. Increasing temperatures? Yes, we already know the temperature is increasing, but we also had higher temperatures before, for example, the medieval warm period, and we didn't report, or actually there were no historical reports about great wildfires. You can actually see that even in the United States during the 30s, you had even bigger temperatures than you have now, and yet they didn't report great wildfires. So maybe increasing temperatures isn't the easy answer. About severe droughts, well, we had severe droughts before. They are seasonal. Some of them are natural, others are man-made, but they exist for the last 2,000 years. And yet before, we didn't see that many great wildfires. Carbon emissions? Well, some people say, okay, the percentage of carbon in the atmosphere is quite low, only 0.04%, and the annual increase is around even smaller, like a tenth of it. So it looks small, right? Well, that's not true, to be honest. The percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere may be small, but that doesn't mean they don't have a bigger role. And I'm putting Al Gore there because of a reason, because some people tend to be a little bit unfair against Al Gore, since when he received his Nobel Prize, he promoted a study that said in 2014 the ice caps will melt. Well, that's not exactly what he says to be true. Okay, so people tend to be a little unfair against Al Gore. I don't think this is true. But indeed, Al Gore was correct about the carbon emissions. These are creating big changes in our planet. And even according to NASA, CO2 is one of the biggest fertilizer gas on Earth, which means more green areas, which means more fuel. So heads up, and a big thank you to Al Gore for actually alerting us to this problem. So if you basically go look at NASA, they have new records in 2022, and you clearly can see that the green area is increasing. You might think, okay, this is good, we're producing more oxygen. Okay, that's also true, but that promotes problems in the future, because more green area, again, what does it mean? More fuel. I'm going to give you a little test. What do you see in this image? You see beauty, you see nature, you see the wildlife. Okay, I agree with all. But since I've started doing this research, when I look at this image, I see fuel. I see uncontrolled possibility of ignition. Before, there was a big, I'll say, human presence in the wildland due to the expansion of the wild-urban interface. Before the 70s, the forests were less dense. Okay, I have an image here that clearly represents that. You can even see this mountain, this valley, in the 30s, and now let's look at the valley now. The difference is huge. So this is before the expansion of the wild-urban interface, and this is after the expansion of the wild-urban interface. So what happened here? So why do you have like less dense forests before the great wildfires, and now you have this extreme dense forest, and now you have great wildfires? Here's the problem. So, conclusions for the great wildfires. Higher CO2 emissions produce more green area, therefore more fuel. So what happened was, during the 70s, since you start expanding the wild-urban interface, you had to rapidly extinguish the fires in the forests, therefore increasing the build-up fuel for future great wildfires. So if you extinguish the fire very quickly, in some years, you will have severe wildfires in the next years, because the forest is getting denser. More severe wildfires will occur and people will die. Therefore, that's why I'm saying fireproofing our houses is completely necessary. Okay? So, this is basically the conclusion I was talking before. You expand the wild-urban interface, you rapidly extinguish the wildfires, therefore you build up fuel for the future, therefore creating great wildfires. This is something that didn't happen before. As I told you, just look at the 70s, almost the same image. As you can clearly see, the forest is a lot denser. The forest is a lot denser. So, solutions for this problem. So here, this is something I'm not going to discuss in this video. This is a political problem. Okay. I recommend 3 videos to understand this problem. I'm going to put the links on the description box below if you guys want to click it. I don't have anything to do with these videos. I don't support either one or the other, but this is a political problem, not a scientific problem. How to solve these problems. Why wildfires have gotten worse and what we can do about it. These 3 videos are quite good. The first one is from Ted. This is also from Ted, from a previous firefighter, a woman. And she clearly says, a surprising solution to our wildfire is more fire. Then clearly check what she says. And also here in the Washington Street Journal, there's a very good op-ed, basically, that they transform into a video. The science of wildfires, why are they getting worse? It's very well explained. Okay, so I'm not going to tackle on this issue. My take on this issue, this is basically a political issue. I don't have it. My take is, I'm a scientist. My take is irrelevant. Science isn't about debate. Anyone who says, I am the science, should be ignored. This is one of the problems that we had during the pandemic. One of the persons used to say that. I don't agree. And politics should never guide science. Okay? Check out these 3 videos. They present different views, but with solutions. In Portugal, we have existing measures to minimize ignitions in the wild-urban interface. We have basically laws that have been approved in 2021. They are quite good. How to manage the forest and the dwellings near it. Basically, distance between trees, vegetations to the dwellings. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this law presented by our government in Portugal because it's quite complete and quite narrow to the problems that we have in our wildland or our forest fields. Okay. Basically, we have in our when active protection in this new law. It's basically already in, how should I say, a subject named home ignition zone, in which we try basically to free our dwelling from near green zones or near bushes, near trees. We try to provide a minimum distances, because if the trees burn, we want to make sure there's no ignition or any flame contact with the dwelling. Okay, so basically part of this law is based on the responsibility of the dwelling's owner for example, cleaning the roof, the garden, and the bushes near the house. Okay, this is something that has been promoted by the forest scientists in our, so I say, in our scientific community. This is not my research fields, okay? So I'm not going to talk much about this. And we also have reactive protection of the population. Here in Portugal, we have a program, a very neat program that I like a lot. So I've read a lot about this program called Aldeias Seguras. Let's say if it well applied when wildfire comes, it literally provides some protection to the population and gives, how should I say, guidance on the population how to protect themselves from the wildfires before the firefighters came. Okay, so this is quite good, to be honest. But are these solutions enough? Short answer will be easy. So there are two ways of having a home ignition by a wildfire. Either the direct contact of the flame, basically the thermal convection, by flux by thermal convection, or by radiation heat transfer. Okay, for the flame contact, you need somewhere less than 10 meters from distance from the dwelling. You have to imagine your tree is burning at least 10 meters. You will have literally transfer of flux by convection. It's basically the direct contact of the flame. But you can also have radiation heat transfer that can go until 15 meters of the flame. So it is possible that you would still have some severe heat flux transferred by either convection or radiation up to 50 meters. So these measures are not enough. But it's even worse. You can also have firebrand accumulation, and I've already shown in another video. I'll also leave a link below. You can have high projection of firebrands up to 2.0 kilometers, and these can still ignite a dwelling. Okay, so again, this is clearly not, these existing measures are not enough. Short answer, it's easy to conclude, is no. And this image clearly shows this problem. Either even if you don't have contact with the flame, or there's no heat radiation transfer, the firebrands will still promote the ignition of your dwelling if it isn't fireproof. Most people think, oh, firebrand is a small object that is flying, you can easily extinguish. No, that's not true. Firebrand projection can be hell. Just look at this firebrand, or what they also call it, amber, where look at the lady, she's not having a good time. Okay, so will your home survive when the embers arrive? Basically, the firebrand projection will ignite your house. It's not fireproof. Therefore, the need for fireproof construction guidelines is fundamental. As I told you before in another video, how do we do this? We already know how to do this. We know the problems. Of course, this is the Columbus age history. Everyone knows the problems until someone published those results. You can see our paper that talks about the inquiries and the surveys that we did, and the conclusion was the percentage of damaged structures due to wildfire, it's basically firebrand projection. There's also direct contact of fire, 21% of the cases, but most cases is firebrand projection. So again, these measures that we talked about before in that law that was approved in 2001, it's not enough because they don't take account the firebrand projection. Where do the fires started? Most likely roof and window, and also sometimes some walls, although unlikely. Okay, and basically the roof, it's made of woods, or an old roof with masonry openings. Even the windows, imagine the windows also made by PVC or made by wood. These will burn also just due to firebrand projection. So are old structures more likely to burn, old masonry structures, or new reinforced concrete structures? It's clearly the masonry structures, more than 90%. So we already know about this, and this is a problem we are literally studying in our research project. So as I told you, it was a small video. That's all for today. I hope you guys hit that like button, comment below if you guys, and share this with your friends, because remember, main purpose of this channel is to save lives. Thank you for having me. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.